Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another edition of DEVChats. Today we are here with Sam Watts. He is the Immersive Partnerships Director for Make Real, and thanks for joining us today, Sam.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Thanks for being here. And today we are here to talk about Loco Dojo Unleashed, and that released on the Quest around October 7th, if I'm correct.
Indeed, yeah. Just a little over 2 months ago now.
And then the original version came out, you were saying, around April of 2017. Is that correct?
Yeah, on the Oculus Rift store, it was April, but then it launched on Steam in September, I think it was.
Oh, okay. Excellent. So just about
quite a long time ago now.
Just to make sure. Yeah, I know it's kind of weird to think about, but I mean, I'm glad to see that it came to the Quest finally to give a bunch of people a chance to play the game. I myself hadn't been able to check it out till recently because I didn't have a computer back then at the time, right. So I wasn't able to see it then. So once I heard it was coming to Quest, got me excited there. Let's get to know you a little bit here. How long have you been with the company, and what's kind of your background?
I've been with Make Real since mid 2013. I joined as a manager at the time to help them deliver what we could call now a mixed reality construction training simulator. It was a 15-meter parabolic screen with multiple projectors projecting 3D content of what we call a time slice, like a frozen snapshot of a construction development, onto the screen. And then they had live construction huts and phone lines and actors in hard hats and high vis, and I'm running on and go, oh, Tommy stepped on a nail, what do I do? And it's like, oh, you've got to refer to health and safety directive, blah, blah, blah. And then the phone would be ringing and it would be the plumber pretending to have an argument with the electrician or something like that. And then
that's awesome.
During that time, we got the Oculus Rift DK1 Kickstarter backer rewards arrived. And it was like, there's a cheap headset that can do VR that runs with Unity. We can do something with this. We can make a business out of it. So once we delivered the construction training sim to they extended my contract for a year to basically explore, to understand what it was that we could do with VR. But so after a year later, like DK2 had then come out. We'd made a game called RS Components, whom they produce like Raspberry Pi and Arduino and sell hundreds of thousands of little electrical components for building circuit boards and whatnot. And they were launching in China, and they wanted something big and impressive to attract people to come to their booth. So we made a 4-player network racing game where you were racing around like a cable, essentially, through a city that was made up of like oversized circles and PCBs.
Oh, neat.
And it ended up being so popular that their booth was being threatened with closure every day because all the other booth holders were complaining because everyone was was queuing up and using other people's as part of the queue to have a go and watch. So when it came back, and that was like early March 2014, and it was on DK1, so we had to score Oculus DK1s into China and then make sure all 4 came back again.
Right.
I think maybe it was the first time that VR had been available to the public in China. But I can't vouch for that, but it was certainly one of the very, very early times, certainly when a DK1 was there, it wasn't officially available.
Right.
And then we thought there must be something in this. So what we're doing, so our moniker is Serious Fun, which kind of reflects the 70% of the enterprise stuff and 30% of the in and out of home entertainment stuff. So we turned this booth demo into a game, and that became Radial G, which was a day one launch for the Oculus Rift back in March 2016. And it was one of the early things, early experiences you download on the old Oculus Share application, where people were sharing demos and experiences. And then it became a day one launch title, and then it came out on Oculus Store, and then it came out in Steam, and then got it to come out on PSVR, and then the partnership we had to create the studio, they then worked with Things 3D publisher, who then did version for Quest.
Okay.
But after Radial G, it was like, right, what else can we do? And had the early access to the early touch controllers. So we worked with Oculus to explore, and basically we created a prototype to get the funding to build Loco Dojo as a full title. So we got the funding signed in October 2016, and then a team of about people for 6 months to launch it in April. But before joining, my background is teaching the e-learning companies, but also gaming. So I used to work for NCSoft, overseeing all the QA for City of Heroes and Guild Wars and Auto Assault and Tabula Rasa and many other games that don't exist today. Obviously Guild Wars 2 is still a thing, but we, as is the nature of the games industry, the European office, most people got made redundant just before sort of game. So it was like late 2009, I think, or early 2009. And I worked for companies doing games or Flash web games, or translation for Zynga, which I then left to join, became Make Real. But Make Real was only fully conceived as a company in 2018. It used to be a web company, and then we ended up sort of closing off the website and then building up on the immersive side, and we fully pivoted to AR, VR, and everything in between in 2018. So I've had 3 good years of growth just on immersive technologies.
Wow, that is quite a background. So you started off doing simulation stuff, kind of bringing like people's CAD drawings to life there. Then you saw there was stuff from there, started working with that, got the idea for the game. NCSoft, actually, I used to play all the games you're talking about there. Believe it or not, I actually have a Guild Wars 2 t-shirt in my closet over there, and a nice signed poster from when they came to Los Angeles there, because I was a huge fan from the start on there too. So, and then working on Loco Dojo, and I saw Radial G too as well. You had mentioned. I saw that they're actually were offering that version for free on Quest now too for Radial G if people wanted to check that out too as well, which is pretty awesome. And I didn't know that was you guys either, so that was news to me hearing that from you right now. But
we at the time, because we were just like the 3D department of a web company, we formed a partnership with a couple of other people who got some early seed investment in, and we did another company called, which was the company sort of listed as a studio and a developer for Real G. But it was the Make Real team, or what became the Make Real team, who made it. And when we launched Loco Dojo, because it was us who got the funding, it all just got a bit complicated, and we ended up just, everything is now Make Real, and it's just a lot more straightforward, because whenever I'm doing interviews, people know I'm Sam Watts, Immersive Partnerships Director from Make Real, as opposed to am I talking to game producer from Tamika or whatever? So we just aligned everything to make it a bit clearer moving forwards. But yeah, it was only recently I realised that my job title, the initials are IPD, which is obviously quite important in VR.
I didn't even put that together. Yeah, I didn't put that together. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Let's see, but so how many people do you have at the company currently? Is it just,
at the moment now we have 30, 35 people now.
Oh wow!
There was 4 when I joined in the 3D team. 1 designer, 1 developer, 1 artist, and me, and a boss. But it stayed like that for quite a while. But it was when just before we Nicola on, she came on board and did the PSVR port of Radio G, and then she stayed on to work on other projects. And then when we got the funding for Loco Dojo, we built and hired more people and built a proper team for it. So we had a couple of part-time artists, a couple of full-time artists, extra designers and extra developers, and then some of them have stayed, some of them have gone to other places,
Right.
And we've just kept on growing really and bringing more people on. So we've definitely grown to match the number of projects that we're working on. We typically have 6 or 7 immersive projects in development at any time, but these are all typically done like an agency, bespoke content in VR or AR or mobile or motion platforms for big end companies, and then the profit from that feeds into our own internal development of building our own products and allowing us to do things, fund the development of the Quest version of Loco Dojo Unleashed, for example, because we actually started the development in like mid 2018 when we first got the early Santa Cruz dev kits, before Quest came out in March 2019. But we had to put a halt on it when initial curation of the store meant that it wasn't going to get onto the store initially. And then we just worked with Oculus over time to understand what it was that they were looking for to ensure that it could get onto the store. And we got greenlit just before Christmas. Then development started again. And we've had an artist, a designer, and a developer working until launch, to then take it from what was the PC version to add new single player and multi-modes, to add those improvements that we already do add, and then it's just broken even in terms of its development costs. So that took like a couple of months, but now we can start putting money into our chest of features and updates and what we're going to do next with it. So we have many plans, many ideas. But 2022 we will continue to build upon the game, which we couldn't really do with PC just because of the numbers and the revenue was quite low.
Yeah, it can be a tough gamble sometimes on the PC side.
Yeah,
we'll definitely get into the game, but before, just for people that maybe haven't seen the game before, can you just give like a light elevator pitch to what the game is?
Yeah, sure. It's designed as a sort of wacky, crazy take on a lot of I'll start again. It's it's kind of hard to describe. It's essentially a series of games that are launched by moving your character around a meta game, the meta table game. There's a very popular Nintendo franchise which we let people say that the game is like in VR to save any repercussions from Nintendo's
we won't mention. Yes, we
lawyers.
won't mention that for fear of the Nintendo strike against.
But essentially, each mini game is like 2 minutes long. A lot of them are kind of like rubbing and patting your head, if you can do that. So it's exploring all the different ways that you can use touch and input. But they're all stupid games. Like there's a kitty litter box, but it's actually like where the bowling ball comes out, and you've got a catapult, and when you pull it back, you've got cats that then form balls, and you've got to fling them at the dog's tongue.
That's
to then pull the dog's tongue down to score more points. But some of them are bombs. You click those at your opponent's dog's tongues instead to blow their cats off. Or you've got a remote control pig. You've got to pick up apples and get it back to the target area. You're riding a pig and you're steering it with a carrot. You've got piglets and you've got to milk a pig with piglets and pad bottoms to the milk out. It's kind of hard to describe. But
I love the descriptions you're giving already. Those are great. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's a stupid fun, multiplayer game that if I'm having a bit of a down day, I just go on YouTube and find streamer videos of people playing it and just listen to people wetting themselves laughing whilst they're playing, and it's just like we make something that make people genuinely happy. So
yeah, I gotta say I was playing with some of the team the other day, and we were just having a great time. It was just laughing, and I hadn't seen a lot of the different stuff in there myself, so a lot of the games were all kind of new to me. So for my first experience, I gotta say that was pretty fun. I definitely remember the experience after I was done with it, which was great. And for myself, I can't wait to go in and play it again. There's you guys got 16 different games in total, or is it on this one?
I remember there's 16 games split across 4 themes. There's seaside, countryside, desert, and foggy swamp. In the future, we quite yet decided, do we create a whole new meta board game table that we can flip over with all new mini games, or do we release a theme and then you could come in sort of different quarters to build your own board map, as it were. We have to see how we go about releasing new content.
So you definitely have plans. So I was going to ask that eventually. So
definitely.
I like that you're open with it. I appreciate that. But people are definitely going to want more in there. During the game, sometimes if you were to exit out of the game, or somebody would leave that was hosting the game kind of cuts out for somebody there. So you're not able to rejoin. Are you guys working on a method for something like that may help that out? Like I said, this can be off the record. I just want to know how to make it.
It's fine. It's something that we do want to look at. And we are aware that it's just the way we got the Photon set up is the person who creates the lobby essentially becomes the host. So if that person drops out, then it does kill the room, everyone. We would need to, bearing in mind, when we took it from PC VR, that was how it was built, and had to do a lot of upgrading of the Unity and a lot of optimization of all the assets, and we pretty much just lifted and shifted most of the multiplayer services straight as, but we had to upgrade it with newer versions of Photon. It's something we were we added the quick match mode as a way to ensure that there was more people coming back to a stage to be available more rapidly or more frequently.
Makes sense.
And with the budget that we had and the time that we had, it was the easiest, most straightforward way was to replicate a system that was already working before. It just seems, I think, on Quest just, I don't know, feels compared to some of the other multiplayer games now, where multiplayer services have moved on, we would need to look at how we could implement that different method. Like, Domio's got real nice, and Space Team, they've got, entering a room code. And I guess it's just the system where it creates the lobby in the ether, essentially, and who's the owner of it. But yeah, there's a few little quirks like that where we would like to be able to remove it, or even have a mode where, because you can only join the lobby in the pre-lobby where you've got the apples toss about. Once the game started, you can't join in, and it's like, how could we have it so that you could join a game that was already in progress? What would happen, from a design point of view? If there's 3 players on the 4th player, then do we add up all of the 3 players' current scores and give you an average starting set of victory coins to sort of give you that match up? There's a whole realm of things we can do to make that multiplayer more effective. But it is a game that a game like Pop One, where there's people always playing. You just drop in and you join a server and you play a few rounds. It seems to be very much a game where people will organise a time and a slot to meet there to play together. So it's kind of difficult. There's about 100 plus CCU. Generally, there's always people playing. Asking up, obviously, as we sell more copies. But we try to organise calendar scheduled events to make sure that we're drawing people together to be online at the same time to sort of increase newbies' chances of finding games to join and play against with strangers, because there's a lot of new Quest owners out there, and it's a whole new audience really for VR.
Right.
And they don't necessarily have friends all set up and available to join into yet.
Yeah, true. I mean, a lot of the veterans may be going in a private party or something, and going in with their friends and stuff. So yeah, that's a good way to deal with it, and I'm sure people appreciate that you're looking into that too as well, because that will definitely. I mean, it's a great game. But yeah, some people like us veterans don't mind, because we're used to having sometimes there's hiccups with the meetup, or maybe there's no voice with somebody, so you're always coming back, But some of the new people that might grab it, if they get in one hiccup like that right off the bat, then they're like, it's like just be a little more patient, people are working on it. These aren't giant teams of people that are working on these games.
No, exactly. I mean, we had one full-time dev on it, and an artist who was doing a lot of the optimization, and then designer coming in to make sure the new solo dojo mode and the quick match modes worked. The next mode we add is pass and play local multiplayer. So actually, we know that a lot of people play that way anyway. Right. It's easier for them to do it now with solo dojo, rather than just running through the 10 trials test, which is how they did it on PC. To actually have a proper mode where you can put in, hey, there's player 1 is Sam, who's Jason, etc. Then we're gonna all right, player 1 has their turn, now take the headset off, pass it to player 2, etc. And then you do 3 or 5 rounds. And whoever gets the highest score in each mini game is the overall winner. Sorry, excuse me. And then you'll be able to either card the TV so people can see when they're not playing, how the other people are doing, etc. Right. But we're also going to be launching it on the Viveport store for Vive Focus 3 for China. We have a deal with HTC Vive to do that. And then whilst we're doing that, we can port it to Pico Neo 3.0 Pro as well. But then the path of least resistance to do that is do that now, before we then go back to the Quest version and revisit the malware stuff that's like got the specific Oculus, Facebook, Meta, whatever multiplayer services built in. Because the more we put in now, obviously the harder it is to port it to these other platforms down the line. Right. So we want to get these versions out, and then we can focus on bringing. You can have a party on your Quest, and you can hands in, and then you can launch and all go into a game from that party, for example, which will create a lobby, and it'll be a private space for you to go and play straight. There's not that many games that are supporting it yet, so it's generally beneficial to support these features, because then reason for having your game included when they talk about them, etc.
Right. Any PSVR 2 plans for you guys, or is it even in thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when we hit the barriers with Quest originally, we'd done all the optimization work to get it running on Quest, so it wasn't actually that difficult to then take that optimized version and get it running on the base PS4 with PSVR. And there is a version, it does work. You can play multiplayer on PSVR. There's a few enhancements for PS4 Pro. It's just being a studio with a lot of projects pulling and requiring time. We just didn't have the right people available with the right internal budgets to sort of do that final multiplayer optimization bits that we needed to do for a smooth PSVR launch. So yeah, never say never. There's certainly a desire and intention to, but we also have to look at the users. So we know there's probably, at the time of launch, there's probably only like 500,000 or 1 million PC VR headsets at the time, and PSVR was always the one to aim for, because we knew Sony had come out and said a couple of years ago they'd bought like 4.5, 5 million units. So that was like the marketplace to aim for. But now Quest
things have
is we know the actual numbers. I guess they're waiting for financial results now that they've separated Quest or Oculus out own reporting structure. There's a lot of talk that to hit this self-sustaining ecosystem for developers needed 10 million units. There was the Qualcomm a few weeks ago where they backtracked, came back and said it was actually analyst information, but they suggested that 10 million units had been shipped. But then there's a difference between 10 million XR2 chipsets that Qualcomm have shipped to how many actually go into a unit, how many actually then go to a store.
Sorry about that. Hands all close there. And sorry about that.
And how many have then actually been sold Quest. So I guess maybe the 10 million number will be official next year with their financial results for this year. But it's probably more than 5 million, I would guess. And I'm guessing PSVR is probably drop right off. I setting my PSVR when I got a PS5 just because with an external drive and the camera adapter and then the USB you need for the breakout box and everything, I ran out of USB slots.
Right.
and it was just, these days with cables and external sensors and the tracking was never particularly good with PSVR.
For your game, probably could have worked.
PS2 ends up being, is a big opportunity, I'm sure, next year.
Yeah. So it'll be a reconsideration probably at the time if finances are.
Yeah.
Available.
I mean, it's there. We've tried. Finding PSVR developers is quite difficult. They're generally in studios and they're generally full-time employed. It's not often.
That is true. Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between a developer who can use Unity and can use the PSVR plugins and whatnot to get it running, but that real technical optimization, high-end polish phase is generally beyond most of the people that we know locally who could come and work for us.
But yeah, so I mean, you talked about the different modes for the game. That's awesome that you guys are looking to get it everywhere there too. So, I mean, I think more people should see the game. It's fun. I mean, I remember hearing before I had the PC, my buddies kept playing. They were talking about it, and I was just like, oh, maybe eventually, you know what I mean? Like back then, I only had the PSVR. Didn't have a Quest or anything at the time. Thanks to the community, they've helped a couple times, got me the Quest 1, and then my buddy this week actually just sent me Quest 2. Very nice of him to do that. Thank you, Justin. But yeah, you're saying, so there's the 10 Trials mode where you're playing with your friends. You can play with about 2 to 4 people on that. The solo stuff, I haven't had a chance to try it myself yet, but so it's just kind of changing the games up slightly just to make it one player, obviously, because you're not competing, or it's just trying to get the highest score on that particular game that you're doing there. I liked all the different kind of masks that you guys had too. It looked like you kind of followed the one of our artists was mentioning you kind of followed looked like the Chinese zodiac there, right, for the different face masks. Yeah,
and I that was one of the things that because the PC VR version we had 8 masks and they were available, from the moment you launched the game, but there's 12 zodiac signs, right? And so we were missing pig, which considering pigs feature so heavily in the game, it was like, why wouldn't we pig mask? Snake, dragon, and goat. So for the Quest version, we added those 4 missing masks, so 12. But with the solo dojo mode, we made it so that, we had a lot of arguments internally about ordering the games in terms of difficulty. So they're split into 4. So there's 4 tiers that you work through of difficulty, and you have to score at least a bronze trophy in each minigame in each tier to unlock the next tier. But then if you score 2 gold trophies out of those 4 minigames, you will unlock one of the original. 4 masks are available off, and then 8 are locked. So if you get 2 gold trophies in a tier, you unlock one of the older masks. If you get 4 gold trophies in a tier, you unlock one of the new masks. And I actually sucked a few of the games on PC. Milking a pig with piglets. I knew how to play it, but I hadn't twigged how to be able to get gold. So when we'd added this feature where you have to get so many gold trophies on masks, when I'm doing all the testing to see whether the functionality is working properly, I'm having to get good at these games to be able to get a gold. And it took me a long time with milking a pig and rattlesnacks, where you're firing snakes to catch burgers out of the air.
If you're milking 2 pigs at a time, they'll fly off.
Hey,
on
you
you,
make
right?
it just a bit easier. Yeah. I was like, can you get the threshold for gold down a bit, so it's really hard. But then because we designed it super simple to pick up and play.
Right.
It's like trigger buttons. You pick something up, you throw, you connect things, or you throw things, or you grab, or it's just pretty straightforward. But yeah, it's real skill and mastery of actually getting really good at it.
Easy to learn, hard to master. I appreciate that too. Yeah, because sometimes when things get too cumbersome, people will kind of back away from it too, But yeah, no, it was real easy. I could keep up with everything that was going on. Even for me too, because I have upper mobility issues and stuff like that. Some of the games, like the throwing a spear at the cactus, some games were a little tougher for me, but still playable. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in very short increments, to the point where you could sit there and relax for a minute or whatever until you get into the next round there, where you're competing for your next green belt or blue belt, or whichever level that you're at when you're playing with your buddies there. But I like that too.
Well, that's why we added the book box that is under the table. Although I appreciate you have to reach down to get it out. So it should be a toggle somewhere really as well. But it's also for smaller people, younger people to play.
Right.
That they can pull this box out and artificially boost them up to the height of a standing adult. But then it made it a lot more possible for seated play as well.
Yeah, that helped. Also, good thing with the Oculus now is they have where you can bring your height.
The raise height.
So I ended up using that versus pulling out the box. But I thought that was great that you did that, because not a lot of people do that too. And the fact that you thought about that, of course, somebody like me is going to appreciate that, and I know others out there. Probably the kids do, like you're saying as well, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be just looking at the top of the table there on the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just those things you don't think about with VR design, right? It's just watching niece and nephews or whatever play for the first time, kids of people in the studio coming in and playing, and then suddenly they're just like, oh yeah, they can't even see over the top of the table.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, that helped my life in Blast on there too when I was playing that, because if not, I was like, hey guys, I'm like this tall and on my chair. I got like this much movement. This is gonna be a tough one for me. But yeah, the fact that you guys thought about that, I appreciate it. We've kind of gone through a lot for the game. Like I said, I would personally would recommend it for people out there just because it's fun. It's great with friends. It's affordable. And if you guys are going to keep adding more to it, that's just going to make it even more fun. And you've already covered that you guys already have future plans. Is there anything else that you'd like to cover today, or anything that you want to mention?
I mean, we've got a lot of plans for content. I mean, when we designed the original 16 mini games, we started off just by like writing 3-4 words onto a post-it note and putting it on the wall, and then we would put a star on the ones that sounded like the best or stupidest ideas, and then those would get turned into. We'd spend like a couple of days just building a really rough prototype to see how it plays, and we would vote again and then see which one got taken to beta and fleshed out into like more rounded gameplay experience. So we've got like Tupperwares full of ideas ready to turn into more mini games that we liked. The really duff ideas we just got rid of, but there's still a lot of things there that were quite highly voted, but not voted high enough to get into the game for launch. But we've had a number of ideas since. One thing I'd really like to do is I'd like to do a VR theme. So I'd like to do, either like the thing with a wooden world or some kind of wooden, cyberverse sort of style, with all the pinks and the blues and everything. but like make a 1 minute version of other popular VR games. So like have a mini game from other games, for example. So yeah, let's have to
So
start
like
talking
Inception.
to.
Your game.
Yeah,
would be
kind of. Yeah.
A VR game. Yeah. Well,
So
I can't wait
we'll
to
start.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's time to start talking to other developers and seeing whether they would let us use their IP in the game to not parody, but tastefully recreate it
Right.
with a Loco Dojo theme to it. But yeah,
Well,
I mean, the best thing for us though is
which
the
we have some
thing for
that
us
do,
is,
so maybe they'll reach out.
yeah. The best thing for us is, and then we haven't really talked about, is the fact that the Grand Sensei, is voiced by Brian Blessed, which for us as British developers is a very well-known cult British actor. We're all of a certain age where we remember, or we Flash Gordon as the cult sci-fi movie, and we
Right.
from that. If you're slightly younger, then people know him as like the King of the Gungans from Phantom Menace. If you're with kids of a certain age, or young kids these days, and you know what Peppa Pig is, then he does Grampy Rabbit in Peppa Pig. But he's just a great character to work with. A much larger and very larger than life actor in person.
Right.
He's not acting per se. He's just being him. So
Did you guys
anything that we add means that we have to get him back into this to do more VO.
So it's great that you guys were able to get him. Did you end up reaching out to him, or did somebody in the studio know him?
We kind of know him now, but we have a thing in the studio called Punt of the Week, where we want to do something, and my mum always used to say, "Don't ask, don't get," and it's just like you try your luck, you visualize your dreams, etc., and sometimes they come true. And we found his agent, and he contacted his agent and explained the game, and explained that when we were designing the Grand Sensei character, his look and feel, and we had Brian Blessed in mind to voice it from the get-go. And they came back and sort of said, make us an offer and then we'll see. And the offer was accepted, and we were given 4 hours of time in the studio. And he came in, and he was Brian Blessed, and he's like, etc. And then like consummate professional, nailed each line, bang, 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 done, within a couple of hours. So then we had extra time for, reading up and extra lines and stuff like that. So with the quest, we had to get him back in because of the game, but also, because of the limited budget we had first time and this time. But first time, there's a lot of dialogue when you're around the table with him, and he briefly explains each game when you go in. But then you don't really hear from him again. So the quest version, we wanted to get a load more dialogue where, especially in Solo Dojo, which is like when you're trying to get better, more effective at each game, we recorded a load of extra lines. So based upon how well you're doing, he's either spurring you on or giving you tips of what you should be doing if you're not doing it right, to hopefully help that wider demographic of Quest users understand what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, guidance is always good, even if it's the simplest thing. Yeah, that's that's
the thing that I do though is actually buy a Quest 2 and send it to him with the game preloaded, because he's not actually played it yet. But he is like late 80s, I think. So I worry a little bit about. I don't want to injure him because then he won't be able to do future updates.
Right. Yeah, there's a gamble there, right? Yeah, you don't want to.
Yeah.
You want him to see it, but maybe just send him a video or something with with it in there. But yeah, I'd love to see his reaction to stuff there. But yeah, who knows? He could be in better shape than me. You never know.
Yeah. I'm sure it would be really good PR anyway.
Right. Yeah, that would be awesome for you guys, right? To have somebody showing him playing it there, him talking about it on there. Yeah, that would be amazing for you. But yeah, I mean, that's hopefully we're here to try to help a little bit too, getting you out there, showing the game.
Yeah.
There'll be some footage playing in the background there, and they'll get to see a little of us playing the game there during the show, or those who've been watching have already been watching it. So I'm speaking in future and present tense at the same time. Sorry.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean that's amazing that you guys were able to get him, like I said. But is there anything else, or did you want to end up wrapping this up, or is there anything else that you'd want to mention? These have been great stories and great learning about everything here, and I appreciate you taking part of your Saturday to sit in here with us, especially a Saturday night.
Well,
awesome.
I'm always happy to meet parts of the VR community, and especially people who are going out their way to encourage other people to get into it. And yeah, it helps as promotion for the game. But ultimately, part of my job is talking about VR, and I wouldn't be doing my job for 8 years if I didn't still love VR. So it's always a pleasure to meet and talk with people who are passionate and enjoy VR. So.
Speaking of that, leading in, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys? If people want to either check out the game, should they go to your Discord, website? What do you prefer? What's the best way to get a hold of you if somebody's
so locodojogame.com is the website, and from there you've got links to the Twitter and the Discord and our Instagram and YouTube and everything else. There's facts and hints and tips on there of how to get good at Minigames, and obviously the links to all the various versions and the various stores as well. If you want to follow the studio, then we're Make Real Ltd, which is like the British LLC type thing. So Make Real Limited Ltd on Facebook, Twitter, etc., or makereal.co.uk. If you want to follow me, then I'm VR_Sam on Twitter, where I'm most active. And then from my bio, you can then find my. I've got a list of like all of the talks and quotes and interviews and stuff that I've done, which this will be going on, and I'm nearly at 400 since 2014. Oh, wow. Where I've talked about various aspects of VR development, games publishing, the enterprise usage, etc. So if you want to dig a bit deeper into VR in general, then that's a starting point or a continuation point.
I know I've seen some, but I did not know there was 400 different ones that you've done out there. That's pretty impressive. I don't think we've even come close to that yet here. So hopefully in the future, but yeah, that's quite a feat. And Sam, I really appreciate you taking the time again. Like I said, I know I said this already, but I appreciate you taking the time to sit here with it.
Well, I mean,
sit here with us today.
I really appreciate you having me and inviting us on. It's always great.
Oh yeah, it's fun for us. I'm hopefully you had a good time, and
yeah,
maybe we'll talk in the future or something when you get more updates, or if you got a new game coming. Would love to have you for whatever you want to talk about. And
yeah,
thanks everybody. And thank you everybody for joining. We'll be here for another episode of DEVChats coming soon. And have a good day or night or wherever you're at. Appreciate